pieces to a jigsaw puzzle he could assemble in moments. Remnants from a line of cocaine lay off to the side, next to a razor blade and a rolled-up 100-euro note. He waited for a phone call, for a voice on the other end of the line that gave him his next assignment, his instructions. He was a gun for hire, a man providing a service for the right price. He was a hard man to find, but for the dedicated individuals who managed to track him down, he was willing to entertain their offers. Like many others in his line of work, he'd done time in the Russian military, worked his way through the ranks, rising from the dog-shit life of a basic enlistee to a marginally better-off non-commissioned officer. At least as an NCO, he could pad his wallet a little bit. And when he'd left the service, he'd taken his Dragunov with him. His time in the military had beaten out any sliver of nationalistic pride he'd ever had. Russia, the whole fucking country, could go to hell. So when the call came in with this assignment, well, he'd been intrigued. Call him patriotic. His phone rang. The voice spoke. The man who'd hired him, giving him his next instructions. He was on his way to America. Chapter 1, May 5th. Bang, bang, bang. Deputy U.S. Marshal Mike Lucciano slammed the side of his fist against the rotten, water-warped door of Stan Coffey's Fairfax apartment. The cheap wood rattled against the door bolt, gaping wide at the base. He saw a stained carpet, vomit brown and frayed, mottled with cigarette burns. Dogs barked in nearby apartments, deep growls mixing with the loud drone and tinny laughter of daytime TV. Owners shouted, hollering at the dogs to quit their yapping or they'd smack 'em. Mike gave Deputy U.S. Marshal Jim Gordon a long stare. Gordon nodded and went back to watching the apartments, welding himself into the corner of the middle landing, bracing his back against the rusted metal staircase. Flecks of paint fluttered loose and fell to the broken asphalt below. Gordon was one of the two deputy marshals Mike had brought with him for this little chit-chat with Stan Coffey. Gordon was young, still in his training year at headquarters in Arlington. He monitored the run-down apartments and surrounding tenement buildings like he was still in the academy, his eyes painting a perfect circuit around the clock face, darting from hour to hour like a bobblehead doll. Jeff Silver, the other deputy marshal, watched over both Mike and Gordon, waiting to back up either, or both if needed. He shouldn't have to. This was just going to be a simple chit-chat. An easy call-out to remind Stan Coffey that threats against the federal judiciary were taken seriously. He'd rattle his chains a bit, throw his weight and his badge around. Mike would give Stan the opportunity to apologize, recant, and make his mea culpas. They'd all be back at the office in an hour. Inside the apartment, Mike heard shouting, the loud hacking cough of a lifetime smoker, and then an ambling shuffle heading for the door. Behind the thin wood, he heard a man grumble under his breath, cough, and curse the still barking dogs. The steady, rumbling barking had alerted the neighbors, and curtains were being pulled back. Mike could feel eyeballs peering down on them all. A chain rattled, and the deadbolt slid. The door cracked open. Stan Coffey, 39 years old, rail-thin, with the body of a meth addict and a face to match, leaned against the door jamb. A cigarette hung from his wrinkled paper lips. His face looked like his missus had hit him one too many times with a frying pan, and he'd never healed right. His greasy hair stuck up at odd angles, next to the bald patch spreading out from the center of his crown. "What do you want?" Stan's eyes narrowed as they swept over Mike. Mike shoved his star-shaped badge into Stan's face. "U.S. Marshals, Mr.